Wall Street's bad bets nearly brought down the financial system in 2008. One thing that didn't end, Michael Lewis says, was the bonus culture and the sense of entitlement in the financial industry. According to the New York State Comptroller, Wall Street employees split $20 billion in bonuses for 2009. That's up 17% over last year, but it's not a record. In fact, it's a third less than the $33 billion Wall Street divided up in 2007. The same year, everyone on Wall Street began to acknowledge the subprime mortgage losses that would reach $1.75 trillion. The size of the bonuses has left Michael Lewis appalled, but not really surprised.
Salomon Brothers.
More than 20 years ago, Lewis collected a couple of bonuses himself as a young trader at Salomon Brothers, and he still can't figure out what he did to deserve them.
I got my Wall Street bonus I got two bonuses in 1986 and 1987. And it was like winning the lottery. The money was so shocking, even though it seems in retrospect so quaint. It was a couple of $100,000, but I was 24, 25 years old. It was incredible that someone was going to give me a couple of $100,000 for what I'd just done, because I couldn't figure out what was so terribly useful about what I'd just done.
And Lewis feels the same way about the latest round of bonuses that were paid out on $55 billion of Wall Street profits that he thinks wouldn't have been made without help from Uncle Sam. Once the government decided the banks were too important to fail, Lewis says the only way to get them back on their feet was to give them money.
I think they assumed that in response for this gift of life that they were giving these Wall Street firms, the people who ran the Wall Street firms would behave responsibly in a way that didn't attract the attention.
Meaning what?
Meaning not pay themselves huge sums of money, but perhaps not even pay themselves anything. Just say thank you and rejigger their compensation systems. Instead, they did not. Instead, they used the market as an excuse for paying themselves. If we don't pay our employees of Goldman Sachs huge sums of money, they're going to leave and go to J.P. Morgan. And the J.P. Morgan people say, well, if we don't pay these special people huge sums of money, they can leave and go to Goldman Sachs. And you kind of want to back away from it and say, well, wait a minute. Why are they so valuable in the first place? And really what's going on is the people at the top of a firm want to make a lot of money. And if they're going to make a lot of money, they've got to pay the people under them a lot of money. So it's a very elegant form of theft right now.
Well, their argument has been, look, we're entitled to these bonuses this year because we made all of this money.
No one ever asked them, they never explained how they made all this money. If you look at their businesses right now, they're heavily government dependent. That if you were at Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley or J.P. Morgan, you have access to a 0% loan in virtually unlimited quantities from the Federal Reserve. You can take that money and reinvest it in treasury bonds or in government agency securities, and you will get the spread. And you could do it over and over. You're essentially borrowing from the government and lending to the government and taking a cut. And
so the government's let them make the money.
Well, the government is still subsidizing these firms because the losses were sensational. I mean, in the financial system, there are now $1.75 trillion of losses from the subprime mortgage bonanza. And that's, they're firms that really, they really shouldn't exist. If the market had been allowed to function, they would not exist. They'd be failed enterprises. I mean, even now, if the government said, we have nothing to do with these places anymore, we're going to let them fail if they fail, they no longer have this effective government guarantee, and by the way, we're going to cut out these subsidies that we're handing them under the table, most of them would fail.
But none of that has changed the Wall Street bonus culture. Lewis says there is a sense of entitlement to outrageous compensation that he thinks is way out of proportion to its contribution to the U.S. economy.
How did that happen? That somebody thinks they're worth automatically millions of dollars a year?
Well, when you're surrounded by a lot of other people who are being paid millions of dollars a year, you're not thinking, oh, it's outrageous for someone to pay me millions of dollars a year. You're thinking, it's outrageous that Jim got $500,000 more than me. That they're looking to each other as reference points rather than to the larger society.
Are they worth that kind of money?
What do you mean? Are they worth that kind of money?
Do they deserve all that money?
Again, what do you mean, do they deserve it? They worked really hard. They spent a lot of hours in the office. So you can't begrudge someone who starts a company and employs lots of people and so on and so forth for making a lot of money. I don't mind people making a lot of money. on Wall Street, the business has become very obviously divorced from productivity, from productive enterprise. So in that sense, no, they don't deserve it. They didn't earn it. What they did was finagle it. They were very good at putting themselves in the middle of large financial transactions that probably shouldn't have happened in the first place and taking out little pieces of it. They generated trillions of dollars of subprime mortgage loans that should never have been made. But the world would be better off if that whole industry had never existed. So that's crazy.
Lewis says the more people learn about what happened, the angrier they become.
What about reform? I mean, do you see anything happening?
There are several things that obviously should be done that have not been done. And you can't explain to my mother why they haven't been done. Only a really smart person on Wall Street can explain why they haven't been done. But, for example, all right, one of the things at the bottom of this crisis, we had these ratings agencies that called a lot of things AAA, gold-plated securities that were worthless. And the ratings agencies are paid, of course, by the Wall Street firms for their ratings. Why is that allowed? Why can you buy a rating? That seems like a very obvious thing to change. And people talk about it, but it hadn't happened. Credit default swaps, insurance contracts that we trade freely, but it's not classified as insurance. This market is the closest thing to sort of ground zero of the recent calamity, and yet nothing has been done to change the market. Nothing's been done to make it more transparent. Nothing's been done to make it more like what it is, an insurance market. That's an obvious reform. From the time I was at Salomon Brothers, it was incredible to me that the firm could advise customers what to buy and sell. At the same time, they are betting on the things that they're trying to sell their customers. So I might call you up and say, wow, these subprime mortgage loans, they look really, really good. This pile over here, you ought to invest in that pile. And meanwhile, the traders behind me are betting against it.
Lewis believes the financial industry is living in a world so disconnected from American life that it can't be sustained. He thinks it may take a while, but he believes that Wall Street, as we know it, has done itself in.
The leaders on Wall Street completely lost any sense of their responsibility to the society. And if you know you're going to blow up AIG by putting $20 billion of bad subprime mortgage risk into it, even though it's going to be very profitable for you, you should stop and say this shouldn't be done.